Board of Public Works public hearing for changing a rate and fees. And I guess Paul would start us off with a schedule of rate and fees.
All right. Yep. You have before you there, or in your packet, a schedule of rates and fees with 3 proposed changes on it that are redlined in that schedule. And so I'll just jump right in. The first one is to remove Proposition R, as the vote to continue Proposition R failed earlier this month. And so we will no longer bill that recycling fee for $1.90 per account starting May 1st. Number 2 is to add a large industrial service standby rate. That rate would be available to any large industrial customers that provide an alternative source of generation. And so we've discussed this rate several times over the last few months, and we know that General Mills will be eligible for that rate when they do have their generation facilities online here in a couple of years. And so we want to make sure that we adequately associate and recover the costs associated with that appropriately. And so we worked in tandem with Utility Financial Solutions, UFS, to come up with that rate. We actually met with them again this morning just to ensure everything was looking the appropriate in the way that we expected it to. And so we'll continue to meet with them before those facilities actually go online. But that is under our electric fund rate schedule. And then the third item is to move the Hannibal Convention and Visitors Bureau and Molly Brown House to the list of municipal entities receiving utilities at no charge. And so you've got that document and those red line changes in front of you. And so if these rates are approved, the new schedule would go into effect May 5th. The only caveat to that is obviously the recycling fee, because that is not necessarily our rate. We will for sure discontinue that May 1st based on when that runs out. So I'll take any questions from the board here first before we move on to the public comment period.
I read through the rate and fee portion of what will be the first candidate, General Mills, who does their own generation, or will do their own generation. I have trouble wrapping my head around all the details of it. I just must assume that with our consultants and collective expertise, that is going to keep the city whole and not have us liable for any undue demand charges or extra electric charges for everybody else.
And if it helps, I can kind of go, it is a little bit different, like you said. And so if it helps, I can kind of go through it here line by line, just to kind of point out the differences between it and the normal large industrial rate schedule.
Yeah, if you could cover probably 3
Sure.
different items.
Yeah. So essentially any demand, energy, and customer charge that they use that's not provided by their facility or any customer that falls under this rate class would be billed at the same large industrial rate class that they are today. The differences that are adding on with this large industrial service standby rate there's really 3 of them. One, there's going to be an administrative fee, is what we're calling it. And so specifically with a customer that provides cogeneration, the revenue that we're billing them today would be expected to be less, because now they're providing their own generation. They don't need that electricity from us as the utility. And so there's lost revenue there. And so specifically for General Mills, that lost revenue and transfer fee revenue would also be recognized by the city of Hannibal in their transfer fee. And so the idea of that administrative fee is to not adversely impact the city of Hannibal in that lost revenue. And so we'll work that out by contract ahead of time to establish how much that lost revenue will be. There's a calculation in there that calls it theoretical revenue. But right now, what we've determined is that somewhere around $16,000 a month in lost revenue. Number two is
Can I
what's.
ask a quick question?
Yep.
Jumping back to that, would the loss of supplying the power kind of help offset that loss?
Yeah, absolutely. So as far as
Buying
the BPW goes, yeah, we're no longer
Oh, I see.
buying
Just
that
the
power, but the city is still losing out and not really recognizing any benefit from it because they're losing that amount of transfer fee revenue. So that's the idea, is to continue to still recover that so that the city is not adversely impacted. Yep. Yeah, so number two is what's called generation contract capacity. So obviously, our infrastructure that's being provided to General Mills isn't going to change. If their generators were to ever go offline, we would have to pick up that load immediately. And so because of that, we still need a way to recover and maintain that infrastructure so that we can pick up that load on any given notice. And so this generation contract capacity is very similar to the customer charge that we charge other customers, but it's a little more specific in that it recovers the actual distribution specific to that customer. And there's an explanation there on why that's needed. And then the third one would be our unplanned outage demand charge. So we will have in place with any type of customer that has this cogeneration what's called a parallel operating agreement. And I need to back up here real quick. I keep saying General Mills. These generators will be built, operated, and maintained by a company called Unison, not by General Mills. General Mills is simply the off-taker of the steam that's produced by these generators. And so that's an important caveat because we, as the utility, will work directly with Unison when it comes to scheduling outages and things like that. General Mills will be involved in that, obviously, because it does affect their operations, but that's an important nuance to note. So this parallel operating agreement will establish when they can take outages, how far in advance notice that we have to have, things like that. However, if the unforeseen does happen and they drop load and we immediately have to pick up that extra 5 megawatts, as you can imagine, that's a substantial unexpected financial hit to us and now having to all of a sudden pay for that load. And so we need a way to recover that, and that's the idea behind this unplanned outage demand charge. We would charge them for all of that demand that they're using at their normal rate, plus this unplanned demand charge as essentially a penalty for forcing us to pick up that load without us expecting to do so. So that kind of covers all of the bases when it comes to a cogeneration facility. There's a couple items still, like I mentioned, to work out before it becomes operational, but we're going to continue to work with UFS just to make sure we bill that appropriately whenever that time comes.
All right, any other questions of Paul on this issue? All right. And the next one would be the moving the rate category from the Visitor Convention Bureau and Molly Brown House to the no charge.
Right.
Okay. I guess I'd solicit public comments if anybody has any to get to the next item. Kind of cut and dry, really. Okay.
From an economic development standpoint, I think the cooperation with General Mills is really valuable for us. Them making that investment here shows a lot of promise for their decision to stay here long term. And so I'm really glad that it was something that we could work out because it strengthens us in the future. If they do decide that they have a chance at expansion here in Hannibal again, this will definitely help us sell that. So appreciate that.
Yeah, that's exciting that economic development is paying a lot of attention to current customers, because losing a current customer is huge and monumental, as or more important than getting new ones. Appreciate that input. Any other public comments? Having heard none?
I'm gonna interrupt, sorry. We may throw Jake, Jay's big enough to throw me under any bus, but if you want to say anything on behalf, we've got Jay Ritter here, who's with General Mills. Jay, I apologize, I don't remember your title, but pretty much he runs the show. Is there any issues that General Mills has with this, or have we done okay?
Positive outlook, so. Like you said, the economic development side of it is very promising. It's a 25-year agreement, so pretty big impact.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, and thank you for coming. Very good.
Yeah, and another huge investment, indirectly, in addition to the, whatever they are making in that new annex that they built.
Can I ask a backtrack question, just curiosity? How's the generation? Steam, you said? That's generators run off steam or the gas powered then? Okay. Gotcha.
They're combined cycled reciprocal engine. There's two of them, 2.5 megawatts each. And what's the real benefit for them, and it's kind of rare for our other industrials, it really doesn't fit, but they're able to take the steam and bring it into the building, and they use that as part of their process. And so they're using all of the calories that come off the steam. They're using all of the electricity that comes out of the generation, which brings the efficiency of that generation up into the low 90 percentile, and it's very good. Plus, it's carbon. It's a carbon footprint. They're reducing their carbon. Yeah. So. Yep. So.
All right. If I don't hear any more public comments, I would seek a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion.
And a second? Second, I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. We are adjourned, but we're going to take a few minutes to rewind the VHS.